of you. So we get going again with the ninth chapter, infrastructure. So, of course, we all know infrastructure investment is very high in India. And it has gone up from 5.92 lakh crore to 11.21 lakh crore in the last 5 years, which shows heavy growth. In fact, the capital expenditure in the budget used to be only 3 lakh crore in 19, and it has gone up by almost 3.5 times. And survey says that the multiplier impact of infrastructure is very large. That is, अगर आप 1 रुपया खर्च करते हैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे तो 2.5 to 3.5 rupees कमा के देगा वो आपको. That is the multiplier effect. That if 1 rupee is spent on infrastructure, it can earn 2.5 to 3.5 rupees for you, and is a key growth driver in that sense. अभी पिछले चैप्टर में हमने बात की गति शक्ति नेशनल मास्टर प्लान हैज अलाउड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ग्रोथ, नेशनल लॉजिस्टिक पॉलिसी, यूनिफाइड लॉजिस्टिक इंटरफेस प्लेटफॉर्म एंड लीड्स. So all that has helped in good digital expansion like UPI, Aadhaar, BharatNet, 5G, DigiYatra, etc. And that results in public capital expenditure, public-private partnerships, private investments, and long-term financing via markets and banks. Of course, the project delays and rigid procurement policies and lack of timely permissions are a challenge on infrastructure in India. So we need to have improved project preparation and feasibility assessment so that the projects remain feasible, they don't go bankrupt. We need to have a life cycle based costing कि अच्छा आज ये सड़क बनाई, ये 50 साल तक चलेगी, इसके मेंटेनेंस में, रिपेयर में, प्रोडक्ट कंस्ट्रक्शन में कितना खर्चा लगेगा और इसकी रिकवरी के लिए कितना टोल चार्जेस लेने चाहिए. ऐसे ही स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स ऐसे हों जो पर्सन टू पर्सन डिफर ना करें. अगर एक स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा तो करप्शन के चांसेस कम है, नेपोटिज्म के चांसेस कम है, एंड स्पीड अप डिस्प्यूट रिजोल्यूशन. अगर डिस्प्यूट है किसी कारण से, क्विक रिजोल्यूशन विल मीन द प्रोजेक्ट डजंट बिकम अनवायबल. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स टेक्नोलॉजी अडॉप्शन शुड बी मेड फास्टर. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग के लिए बैंक लेड क्रेडिट अब कम हो रहा है, एंड नॉन बैंक सोर्सेज, बॉन्ड्स और NBFCs issuing fund of funds, all that is becoming more and more relevant. If you see, the credit from NBFCs has grown at 43% per annum in the last 5 years. This is more than the non-food credit. एक और important चीज़ है infrastructure investment trust and real estate investment trust. तो इसमें क्या है, जैसे मान लीजिए मैंने एक रोड बनाया, अब मैं उस रोड को टोल रोड नहीं बनाना चाहता, but I want to raise money from that road. What I will do is I will issue infrastructure investment trust via that bonds in the market. People will purchase those bonds, and what will be the collateral? The road that I have constructed. And that ways I will get loans, I will make future roads, better infrastructure, and people will get benefit as they will get interest on those or yield on those bonds, and these bonds are tradable. Similarly, in real estate investment trusts, I want to develop a housing project. I don't want to use money by partnership, etc. I can register my project with the real estate investment trust. I can issue bonds via that and raise money. Then of course, so this is what shows that overall the money funds mobilized by REIT and InvIT has been growing. In fiscal year 24, it was 39 lakh crore. In 39,000 crore. In fiscal year 25, it is 31,000 crore. So it shows that some decent money is being raised through REIT and InvIT. Also, RBI ने थोड़े project reforms किए हैं, अपनी policy reform किया, regulatory and policy reform. पहला, RBI has now introduced a unified lending framework. So unified lending framework means that the date of commencement, commercial operations, everything will be considered, and then lending will be made. So project stress and evergreening can be stop. Project stress means suddenly if the project is in trouble, so the lenders will not freeze lending there, they will keep giving loans. And evergreening means if by chance somebody is deliberately taking more and more loans to pay back the previous loans, that can be caught. Also, the infrastructure definition is now aligned with harmonized master list to ensure regulatory clarity, so that what is infrastructure, what all sectors lie in it, what kind of loans will be counted as infrastructure loan. So the harmonized manufacturing system will now make sure that RBI has categorized ये infrastructure है, ये नहीं है. तो discretion खत्म कर दिया RBI ने जो बैंक मैनेजर्स के पास होती थी, जिससे कभी कभी bribery या nepotism हो जाता था. और सेबी ने स्मॉल एंड मीडियम रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट फ्रेमवर्क को मंजूरी दे दी है, और उन्होंने कहा है that now for registering in this REIT, your asset size can be even 50 crore and we will register you. Earlier it used to be 500 crore. तो जो small projects थे वो register नहीं कर पाते थे. And mutual funds and special investment funds in REITs are now treated as equity. So that means mutual funds will find it more conducive to participate, क्योंकि जब वो debt के रूप में treat होता था तो उस केस में people used to be a little hesitant because debt means lesser return, equity means relatively better returns. Public-private partnership has been promoted in India, and again there is financial support, standardized documents are being created, And in India, we have done it in the class. BOT, DB, FOT, and so on is the primary method. India ranks among top 5 in private infrastructure investment among low and middle income countries, and 90% of South Asia's PPP is in India. And we see that there is rising project approval. So in fiscal year 23, we had 8,890 crore rupees worth of project. Now it has gone up to 1,04,000 crore worth of project up to November only, which shows massive increase in project approvals in India. And same thing can be seen from 6 to 28. This is good news because it means we have some private participation happening in the projects, but other than that, it also means that private expertise, timely completion of projects, etc., can also be made into a factor. Then of course, and that's what the survey says, that public investment alone is insufficient. It requires diversified financing, and so private sector involvement will be better. What is the way forward? Expand the PPP model. There should be balanced risk sharing. All risk sharing should not only be on the private sector. And bankable projects का pipeline means एक trend बनाइए, एक single source बनाइए, और जो bankable projects हैं फिर उनको आप ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी दीजिए, तो इससे again project development better होगी. Then municipal bodies को empower कीजिए to raise money through bonds, which can be used for public-private partnership projects. Now the current budget has given the municipal corporations incentive to raise money through bonds. And then of course project की preparation, standardized contracts, इनको बढ़ाने से क्या होगा? Easy financing will be available. The existing PPP framework in India, we have the Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee as the apex body for all central projects. It is shared by the Secretary Department of Economic Affairs with interministerial representation. Total 129 projects have been recommended with more than 5,60,000 crore in the last 10 years. And viability gap funding scheme has been introduced, that if something is commercially not viable but economically good, socially good, then viability gap funding will make sure that even if you don't get credit on time from banks, government will support you and make it profitable for the companies running it. And that public-private partnership is being seen as an example in schemes like Udan, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, where airlines are given this VGF by government, and many airlines have now picked up and are flying it on 628 routes in Udan. Then of course, the Indian Infrastructure Project Development Fund is there. And this fund, the fund's transaction advisors to create bankable PPP projects. It was notified in 2022. ये अपने facts याद रखोगे अगर PPP पे कोई आंसर लिख रहे हो, of steps taken by government to support PPP. So you can talk about public-private partnership appraisal committee, viability gap funding, that is second. Third is India Infrastructure Project Development Fund, and that ways, and then 3-year project PPP project pipeline. 852 projects have already been identified by central and state government, and total project cost now exceeds 17 lakh crore. And these projects are in roads, railway, airport, ports, development of school buildings, panchayat buildings, development of pharmaceutical supply chains, oil and gas pipelines. Multiple चीजों में PPP लाया जा रहा है, but ज़्यादातर रोड, रेलवे, पोर्ट, एयरपोर्ट इनके अंदर और टेलीकॉम इनमें ज़्यादा PPP देखे जा रहे हैं. Standardization and capacity building is the next step to promote PPP in India. कि risk allocation के लिए developed tool हो. मतलब क्या हुआ कि PPP की appraisal ठीक से की जाए. Appraisal का मतलब क्या हुआ? Whether this will be profitable, whether this will work well for us. Similarly, waterfall framework. Waterfall framework का मतलब क्या हुआ? That if there is a sudden change, you are able to find out that reason of the change, and you will be able to adapt accordingly. And then of course there are sector specific toolkits. स्टेट और यूनियन टेरिटरीज को गाइडेंस दी जा रही है ताकि कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग कर सकें. नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इनेबलमेंट इंडेक्स इज यूज्ड टू असेस इंस्टीट्यूशनल रेडीनेस, कि कहीं पर आप पीपीपी लाना चाहते हैं तो इंस्टीट्यूशनली वो जगह रेडी भी है या नहीं इस पीपीपी के लिए. देन ऑफ कोर्स इन मॉडल, द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स आर बीइंग डेवलप्ड ऑन अ मॉडल बेसिस सो दैट यू कैन हैव स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड मेथड. पीपीपी को स्ट्रेंथन कैसे करें? पहला, हमने शुरू में देखा कि सरकार पे जब नहीं होता है बोझ, वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग नहीं होती, तो पीपीपी फेल करते हैं. तो बेहतर क्या करें? लेट द सेक्टर्स मैच्योर. रोड्स, पोर्ट, पावर, रिन्यूएबल्स, दे अट्रैक्ट स्टेबल प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट बिकॉज द रिटर्न्स आर गोइंग टू बी स्टेबल. Similarly, the next frontier sectors can be health, education, warehousing, sanitation. So go step by step. Wherever you have had the experience of getting some good results, focus more on developing PPP there and then on the rest of the things. Then we see that we have moved away from transaction-based PPP to system-level market building. clear multi-year project pipelines are now there, that okay, even if there are 20 years of project, what will happen in each year, what transaction will be done, what revenue will be generated, that is pinpointedly now getting clear. Then of course PM Gati Shakti and National Infrastructure Pipeline are linked together. So money that is generated and the management that has to be done, administrative support that has to be given, is all now coordinated. Also the pre-construction risk resolution, जैसे लैंड क्लियरेंस मिलेंगी या नहीं, यूटिलिटीज की क्लियरेंस मिलेगी या नहीं, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई, वाटर सप्लाई, ये पहले से अब कर लिया जा रहा है. कुछ चैलेंजेस अभी भी स्टेट लेवल पे हैं. जैसे पहला तो कि पीपीपी का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बहुत लोग नहीं समझते, उनको लगता है सारा कुछ इंजीनियरिंग प्रोक्योरमेंट कंस्ट्रक्शन है जो ठेकेदारी जैसा है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस पे ये बनाकर मुझे दे देंगे. बट पीपीपी में द प्राइवेट प्लेयर माइट बिकम a player in even arranging money and developing it from there, and you know, like a toll charge being taken or a fee being taken. Also there is trust deficit and capacity gap. The bureaucracy is not trained. Sometimes the trust about private player is not there. Bribery at times makes things bad. So we need to make sure that at state level we create good institutions, information, trained bureaucracy, and you know, the stable mechanism to assure PPP at state level. फाइनेंसिंग ट्रेंड में पीपीपी में देखा गया है कि अब पेंशन फंड, इंश्योरेंस, इनविट्स, ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स, दे आर पार्टिसिपेटिंग मोर, विच इज गुड न्यूज. रिमेंबर, पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विल बी 30-year project, 35-year project. Banks financing cannot be for more than 5-10 years. So alternative investment funds or pension funds or insurance companies which take long-term loans, long-term deposits will be able to finance these long-term projects. Of course, the new project ग्रीन फील्ड का मतलब होता है जो नया शुरू हुआ हो, जैसे जेवर एयरपोर्ट ग्रीन फील्ड, और अगर इंदिरा गांधी इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट इन दिल्ली के अंदर एक नया टर्मिनल ऐड किया गया तो ब्राउन फील्ड. तो ग्रीन फील्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स के अंदर अभी भी बैंक फाइनेंसिंग पे डिपेंडेंस है. अब हमें क्या करना चाहिए? वी शुड गो फॉर रिस्क मिटिगेशन टूल्स. ऐसे टूल्स यूज करिए जिनसे रिस्क कम किया जा सके, जैसे पार्शियल क्रेडिट गारंटीज. यू डोंट नीड टू गिव अ कंप्लीट क्रेडिट गारंटी, बट पार्शियल क्रेडिट गारंटी टू जनरेट लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स. टेक आउट फाइनेंसिंग. टेक आउट फाइनेंसिंग का मतलब है, सपोज आई हैव अ शॉर्ट टर्म लोन, आई टेक अ लॉन्ग टर्म लोन टू पे अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट शॉर्ट टर्म लोन, एंड दैट लॉन्ग टर्म लोन कैन देन बी पेड ओवर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम व्हेन आई एम रिकवरिंग मनी फ्रॉम माय project. Similarly, refinancing frameworks. If I am unable to pay immediately, I can refinance it by taking loan from another lender, paying the current loan, but keeping my project viable. So we need to make sure that renegotiation frameworks for stressed projects are made better. So private players should not be given entire risk, mitigate their risk. Greenfield projects are already very heavily risky. Credit availability should be simplified, and there should be more trust in the मार्केट स्पेस. ये पूरा जो आखिरी 4 स्लाइड्स हैं ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ राइटिंग एन आंसर ऑन PPP. That what are the institutions for PPP in India, steps taken by the government to promote PPP in India, challenges regarding PPP in India, and what can be the way forward. Then in physical infrastructure we see that a national highway from 91,000 km to 1,46,000 km in roadways, now it is 1.5 lakh km. And with respect to high speed corridors from 550 kilometers to 5,300 kilometers, so massive road building being done in India. Annual construction has gone up from 4,100 kilometers per annum between 2004 to 2014 to 9,700 kilometers per annum between 14 to 25. And there is a 5.8 times increase in capital expenditure on roadways, also financed outside budgetary support, which is a big achievement. कि जो रोडवे का फाइनेंसिंग है उस फाइनेंसिंग में सिर्फ बजट के थ्रू सपोर्ट नहीं आया. द सपोर्ट हैज बीन फ्रॉम अदर सेक्टर्स, आई मीन अदर साइड्स लाइक बॉन्ड इशूइंग, NHAI raising it through InvIT has also been there. Now rural connectivity has gone up. PMGSY is now achieved 99.7% connectivity. PM Janman has achieved, that is Janjati Abhiyan, Nyay Maha Abhiyan, 8,000 kilometer targeted for particularly vulnerable tribal groups. 7,300 kilometers and 163 bridges have been sanctioned with partial completion. Then primary, ये important है from prelims point of view, ये दिमाग में रखोगे, that जो PMGSY का 4th फेज है, ये अपने नोट्स में भी ऐड कर लेना, मैंने आपको 4th फेज के लिए बताया था कि सर्वे के साथ पढ़ाऊंगा. So 4th फेज है, it targets 25,000 habitations through 62,500 kilometers of roads and bridges in the 4th phase. 99% is already done, mind you. 70,000 crore has been sanctioned for it for the next 5 years. The GIS surveys are being used, international standards are being given, and PM Gati Shakti integration is being provided, and Dharti Abha Janjatiya Gram Utkarsh Abhiyan has been integrated with it. So 8,600 kilometers of road have been sanctioned to be connected to 2,700 habitations. So the focus is on developing high-speed corridors, multimodal integration, and improved project delivery to reduce logistics cost and enhance connectivity. So that is for PM Gram Sadak Yojana 4 that we are looking at. So that is again modernization of rural roads, better connectivity, and lesser logistical cost. Then we see that the key reforms in roadways and highways, one is that we have gone for high speed connectivity and integration. So high speed corridors have expanded almost 10 times, and about 26,000 kilometer corridor is being targeted by 2033. Also nodal connectivity is being achieved, that is, improved links to other sources, ports, inland water communication, so that we have multimodal transportation possibilities within India. Also create urban decongestion, that is the third thing in roads which we are targeting, create bypasses, ring roads, etc. And then go for privatization and monetization. Monetize the asset, earn money and use that money for further development. Also make sure that private InvITs are allowed to participate. So even private sector will raise money from InvITs and spend further in road building and so on. The public-private partnership pipeline is giving 13,000 plus kilometers over 8 lakh crore cost for the next 3 years. So some massive road building is happening in India for the last 10-11 years, and we see the result on the ground when we travel. Also the other reform is project quality reform, fixed cost bidding. Now you cannot increase the cost of production as the bids go up. And performance evaluation. Every year there will be a regular evaluation that whether what you had promised on the ground you are delivering or not. Contractors will face stricter norms, performance security is kept in mind, and also contractors will be rated, and those who fail to achieve correct performance will be blacklisted. Drones and automated intelligent machine aided construction will be used. प्रीकास्ट कंपोनेंट जैसे पहले से स्ट्रक्चर बना रहे और जैसे आप देखते हैं फ्लाईओवर बन जाता है नट्स एंड बोल्ट स्क्रूज से उसको फिक्स करके. एंड देन ड्रोन एनालिटिक्स मॉनिटरिंग फॉर इंक्रोचमेंट्स, अगर इंक्रोचमेंट्स हैं तो ड्रोन से मॉनिटर करके हटाया जाए उन्हें. एंड AI बेस्ड डिटेक्शन ऑफ पॉट होल्स एंड cracks. So to make sure that not only construction happens faster, but quality remains great. In railways, the network has now reached 69,000 kilometers. 3,500 kilometer addition is targeted in fiscal year 26. So almost 12 kilometers of rail building every day and almost 13 kilometers of road building every day is what India is doing. Electrification has been achieved in 99% cases, even though on 14% routes diesel vehicles are dominating, but 99% electrification is there. We have now record capital expenditure in railway, which has gone up from 1 lakh crore in 2019 to 2.6 lakh crore, which has strengthened railways capacity also. And railway is an important part of industrial supply chain, so it is important that the dedicated freight corridors etc. developed by railway, and PM Gati Shakti develops railway as a part of multimodal connectivity that India is targeting. अब कुछ की इनिशिएटिव्स क्या लिए गए हैं, तो एक तो इकोनॉमिक रेलवे कॉरिडोर्स, उसमें 3 कॉरिडोर्स हैं अंडर पीएम गति शक्ति कवरिंग एनर्जी सप्लाई, मिनरल एंड सीमेंट एंड पोर्ट कनेक्टिविटी एंड हाई ट्रैफिक डेंसिटी रूट्स. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये दिमाग में रखोगे कि 3 कॉरिडोर हैं जो पीएम गति शक्ति के थ्रू कनेक्टिविटी दे रहे हैं, कवरिंग एनर्जी, मिनरल एंड सीमेंट, port connectivity and high traffic density routes, so that there is focused coverage, and important things like coal for energy or cement for construction or minerals for industry or port connectivity for export, and high traffic density routes where congestions happen can be faster connected. Second is 434 projects with 11.17 lakh crore have already been sanctioned, are planned, out of which 122 projects are already sanctioned and 198 projects are under appraisal. Mumbai Ahmedabad high speed rail, it is now almost achieving completion. By 2028 we can expect high speed rail to move, even though it has been badly delayed. It was supposed to be completed by 2022. Dedicated freight corridors, as I told you in the industries chapter, 2741 kilometer commissioned. Eastern dedicated freight corridor, और अभी परसों ये न्यूज में था that now even western dedicated freight corridor is complete in India. Station redevelopment is happening, 1,337 stations under Amrit Bharat station scheme, under PPP mode. 15 stations are planned, and on safety, Kavach, electronic interlocking, etc. have been promoted. Over 78% tracks have been upgraded. ये important है, नहीं तो आप इस पे वंदे भारत ट्रेन या दुरंतो ट्रेन रन ही नहीं कर सकते थे. So now 78% tracks have been upgraded कि 110 kilometers per hour से ऊपर की ट्रेन भी इन पे function कर सकती हैं, which is a big achievement. 18 projects worth 16,000 crore are completed in PPP, and 7 projects are under implementation. Aviation, India has increased इट्स डोमेस्टिक एविएशन मार्केट, और हमारे जो एयरपोर्ट्स हैं ये इंपॉर्टेंट है प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, इंक्रीज फ्रॉम 74 to 164 in the last 11 years, with 11 greenfield airports also developed in India, latest being Jewar in Uttar Pradesh, before that Navi Mumbai airport in Maharashtra. 412 million passengers have been handled, and they're projected to keep growing. The air cargo is now carrying 3.72 million metric tons. Now we have the regional connectivity scheme UDAN, 657 routes, 93 airports connected, 120 new destinations covered, and they're targeting 4 crore passengers. Greenfield airports possibility, 13 are operational. As I told you, Navi Mumbai 14 ho gaya ab ye with Jewar. 24 airports have been approved. Modernization is being promoted so that you can have more and more passengers who can be catered to. Digi Yatra, drone liberalization, the technology has been promoted. And then there is Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidhayak and Protection of Interest in Aircraft Objects Act for safety and leasing reforms. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का गैप अभी भी है. आप देखिए इंडिया में 0.11 एयरपोर्ट्स हैं पर मिलियन पीपल compared to 47 airports per million in US, and even in China it is 3.5 times more. So we need to build many more airports in India to promote air connectivity, but उसके साथ साथ परचेजिंग कैपेसिटी भी बढ़ानी पड़ेगी so that लोग उस एयरपोर्ट को यूज़ कर सकें. नहीं तो अभी कुछ इंस्टेंसेस देखने को मिल रहा है where we have the airports but airports had to be closed down, like in Kushinagar, because of lack of traffic. So we will have to make sure that enough traffic is there, enough purchasing capacity is there, connectivity is there, and more airlines are there. Only 2 airlines are not sufficient for India. We need more airlines and many more airports in India. Then of course, the global economic cycles have their own challenges. Air turbine fuel cost is a challenge. Taxes done by government is a challenge. And the strengths are maintenance, repair and overhaul, etc. is doing well in India. But we will have to give them much more policy support for airports to grow in India. In shipping, there is Maritime India Vision 2030 and Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047 to improve infrastructure, regulation and private participation. What are the gains? One, port capacity has grown strongly. We have already done it in survey. We have grown to 1650 million tons of port capacity and cargo throughput. Mechanization, smart ports and digital systems are now being improved, developed. Global ranking has improved with 2 ports of India now in top 30 and 7 ports in top 100. तो ये आप अपने सागरमाला के नोट्स में ऐड कर सकते हैं regarding port performance in India. Legislative reforms भी किए गए हैं गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, जैसे मर्चेंट शिपिंग एक्ट, कोस्टल शिपिंग एक्ट, इंडियन पोर्ट्स एक्ट एंड बिल्स ऑफ लेडिंग एक्ट. इनका पर्पस ये है कि डिस्प्यूट्स कम हो, ग्लोबल सिस्टम के साथ अलाइन करके रहें, कंस्ट्रक्शन में डिलेज ना हो और किसी भी तरह के लाइसेंस या परमिट के सिस्टम को सिंप्लीफाई करके दिया जा सके. Overall, we see that the public-private partnership is also growing very well in ports, with 48 projects worth 23,000 crore are now planned. Vadhavan port is separate. It has a 76,000 crore project going to be the Asian largest port that we are going to make by 2032. Inland water transport, we have made massive progress. 32 national waterways are operational, more than 5,000 kilometers. There is cargo on 29 out of 32, cruise on 15 and passenger on 23. Cargo increased from 18 million metric tons in 2013 to 146. That's almost an 8 times increase in cargo that we see. Passenger traffic is now 7.6 crore. ये आप inland waterway के ऊपर अगर कोई question आया तो आप लिख सकते हैं. जल मार्ग विकास project 4600 crore rupees project Varanasi to Haldia. Cargo worth more than 16 million tons is already taken there, and multi-median terminal operation, modal terminal operation is there. Roadway, railway, waterway, ports, airports. All that will be allowed to make faster movement, vessel movement, and so on. Local trade between 53 operational jetties are being supported. And then river cruise tourism with Ganga Vilas as the first true cruise in India, inland water cruise, is already there. Jalvahak scheme is for cargo promotion to schedule cargo movement on key waterways. And then we have digital initiatives like Jal Samriddhi portal for approvals and private investment, Jalyan and Navik for unified vessel registry so that there is seamless transition from one mode to another, Naudarshika for navigation data and safety, and so on. Which means that, and the focus is on Northeast with National Waterway 2 and 16, cross-border connectivity via India-Bangladesh rules. So overall, port connectivity and water and river connectivity is being improved, and the target is to make it 5% of total inland transportation in India by 2030. And they give us a case study of Kochi Water Metro. You simply read through this case study. It will help you in understanding and talking about a particular place where we are now developing this water metro, which will allow us better connectivity in areas which are coastal regions. Shipbuilding, if we see, 69,000 crore rupees, initiative has been approved. Because India has been far behind China in shipbuilding, we are dependent too much on foreign shipping companies to produce and to give us shipping services. So we have shipping services company in India, but not shipbuilding. While India used to be one of the massive shipbuilders in the ancient days. So that is what government is targeting for, that India's shipbuilding should grow. Otherwise, we are dependent heavily on Chinese, and tomorrow if the Chinese block their ships, Indian cargo transport will suffer. So for that, shipbuilding financial asset scheme has been developed, a corpus of 24,000 crore plus, which is valid for the next 10 years, and that includes 4,000 crore ship breaking credit note also for green recycling, etc. Ship breaking का मतलब होता है कि आप नए ships construct करें और repair maintenance के लिए काम करें. Maritime finance framework बनाया गया है, 25,000 करोड़ का मैरीटाइम डेवलपमेंट फंड दिया गया है, इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए 20,000 करोड़ विद 49% गवर्नमेंट पार्टिसिपेशन एंड 5,000 करोड़ इंटरेस्ट इंसेंटिवाइजेशन. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. शिप बिल्डिंग इज अ प्राइम थिंग इन इंडिया एट द मोमेंट, द फोकस एरिया फॉर गवर्नमेंट. देयर कैन बी अ क्वेश्चन ऑन शिप बिल्डिंग फ्रॉम यू, सो बी प्रिपेयर्ड. Then the shipbuilding development scheme has been launched with a 19,000 crore outlay. ये कल ही के अखबार में था. In fact, targets shipbuilding capacity of 4.5 million gross tonnage annually. The focus is to develop mega clusters, modernize shipyards, risk support, and India Ship Technology Center कि R&D का support मिले, economies of scale का support मिले और regular growth मिल सके ताकि India indigenous large scale shipbuilding बना सके. In power sector, we see that the installed power capacity is now rising 11% year on year, and it was 509 gigawatt by November 25. It is almost 530 gigawatt now. We also see that rural power development has been massively developed. A 1.85 lakh crore invested in Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, integrated power development scheme and Saubhagya. 18,000 last mile connectivity has been given to villages. More than 2.8 crore families have been given electrification in Saubhagya. Ye data yaad rakhoge so that you are able to put them in your paper and you will get good marks in the mains exam. Now, the demand supply gap is nil in India. It used to be 4.2%. 21 hours is the average power available in rural area, 24 in urban. The DISCOM are facing challenges, high losses, high loans, and outstanding debt is more than 7 lakh crore, accumulated loss of more than 6 lakh crore. So what is the reform we need? One reform that has been done is late payment surcharge rules are reduced. So dues have been now reduced drastically ताकि late payment surcharge dues को reduce किया गया है. दूसरा, ऑटोमेटिक मंथली फ्यूल कॉस्ट एडजस्टमेंट एंड पास थ्रू ऑफ प्रूडेंट कॉस्ट. अगर हर साल आपके फ्यूल कॉस्ट हर महीने बढ़ रहे हैं तो आप उसे पास ऑन करिए कंज्यूमर को अपने बिल में ताकि आपको वो बर्डन ना लेना पड़े. टाइम और वो कंज्यूमर कौन होंगे? गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज. टाइमली रिकवरी ऑफ चेंज इन लॉ कॉस्ट एंड इम्प्रूव्ड सब्सिडी अकाउंटिंग. सरकार सब्सिडी अनाउंस कर देते हैं, देते नहीं है डिस्कॉम को टाइम पर. अब ये रूल बनाया गया है कि राज्य सरकारों को सब्सिडी टाइम पे डिस्कॉम को देनी पड़ेगी. AT&C लॉस रिडक्शन टारगेट्स टू मेक श्योर दैट पीपल डोंट स्टील इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एंड कॉस्ट रिफ्लेक्टिव टैरिफ. जितना कॉस्ट है उसके हिसाब से टैरिफ देना पड़े. अब ये देखा गया है कि फाइनेंशियली डिस्कॉम्स हैव रिपोर्टेड अ प्रॉफिट ऑफ 2700 करोड़ इन 25 वर्सेस अ लॉस ऑफ 67,000 करोड़ इन 14. बट ये प्रॉफिट ऑपरेशनल है. फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट्स आर स्टिल नॉट रिकवर्ड. A lot of loan have been taken over by the state government. We will have to do structural reforms in discoms. Otherwise, the losses will keep multiplying. Free power के culture को इंडिया से खत्म करना जरूरी है. Till we keep giving free power, wastages will happen. People will not have a culture to pay the bill, and that will be trouble. Then of course AT&C losses are reduced now to 15%, which is good news. Of course, theft कम किया गया है power का और revenue realization बढ़ी है. बट अभी भी हम कॉस्ट के बहुत ऊपर नहीं जा पाए हैं. सो द इलेक्ट्रिसिटी अमेंडमेंट बिल is समथिंग दैट कैन improve the efficiency of discom, but most important is to control power theft. India Energy Stack is a digital public infrastructure that has been promoted for power sector to enable a distributed digital and participatory energy system. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है ये भी. इंडिया एनर्जी स्टैक पे क्वेश्चन हो सकता है. क्यों लाया गया ये? क्योंकि पहले फ्रैगमेंटेड डेटा था. सो people used to solve things in silos. The discoms, the gencoms, the transcoms were not connected to each other, and that led to limit consumers' choice. Innovation was limited. Monetization could not happen. Also, the consumers in one area did not know about power availability in another. So now the government, Ministry of Power, with Rural Electricity Corporation as nodal agency, has set up an open standard and consent based data sharing. In this, what will happen? There will be a power ecosystem which will be interoperable, so if suppose, and consumer centric. So if suppose somebody has a surplus power and someplace there is deficient, immediate transaction can happen, so the people will not lose money and consumers will get immediate power supply. So discoms and utilities will be a part of this. We will have smarter tools for planning, operations and customer service, better data quality. Regulators and policymakers will gain with instant reliable data access. The consumers and producers will gain with more choice, better services. Grid operators will gain with real time, more visibility at all levels, and startups etc. will gain because they will know where to buy their power from. So overall it's a consumer centric benefit, and the basic idea is make it interoperable कि अगर एक जगह पे किसी डिस्कॉम के पास ज़्यादा पावर है तो कंज्यूमर उनसे खरीद सके. अगर सोलर पावर ज़्यादा आ रही है किसी रेजिडेंट वेलफेयर एरिया में तो वो अपने पास के कॉलोनी को वो सप्लाई कर सके. सो दैट मल्टीपल सोर्सेज ऑफ पावर एंड परचेजेस कैन बी क्रिएटेड विथ स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड मेजर्स टू procure, and that will help us in reducing entry barrier and scaling up power availability. Then of course it will also enable households, MSMEs and farmers to earn from energy participation and flexibility. इससे क्या होगा? आप फार्मर हैं, पीएम कुसुम के थ्रू पैसा अर्न कर सकते हैं क्योंकि आपके आसपास अगर किसी के पास पावर की शॉर्टेज है तो उन्हें भी आइडिया रहेगा कि आपके पास एक्स्ट्रा पावर है. हाउस के पास अगर पीएम सूर्य घर मुफ्त बिजली योजना में पावर है वो उसे बेच पाएंगे. दीनदयाल उपाध्याय नेशनल रूरल livelihood mission, the जीविका, the women led groups can use it for community development. Also the Surya Mitras and all can gain by getting trained and selling their power supply. So privacy is ensured, cyber security is ensured, verification is done properly, only consent based tools will be used, and that will result in more and more energy supply to consumers with same level of grid supply. So renewable energy is the next talk. We see that 52% of our renewable energy is solar, then of course 21% is wind, 5% is bio, 20% is large hydro, 2% is small hydro. तो ये आप दिमाग में रखेंगे that renewable energy is around 254 gigawatt by November 25. We also see it's almost 50% now, and India is ranking third in total renewable and solar capacity. ये actually 50% क्रॉस कर गया है दिसंबर आते आते. तो आप ध्यान रखेंगे by December 2025 India has already crossed 50% renewable energy generation capacity. That stays. Prelims के point of view से ये बात दिमाग में रखोगे. Now we are adding record renewable energy and solar power is playing the massive role there, but the challenges are capital costs are high, land acquisition becomes a challenge, and so on. So what is the way forward? Financing should be made easy, project execution should be faster, and battery energy storage system should be made better. In digital infrastructure, we see telecom is doing very well. 6G, India is actually trying to develop its own R&D and go ahead of the world. 5G we could introduce with the world, and teledensity is now 86% in India. There is number of telephones per thousand population. Rural connections have gone, broadband connectivity has gone up. ये बातें हम पिछले chapters में कर चुके हैं, तो यहाँ मैं थोड़ा faster जा रहा हूँ. In fact, broadband connectivity in India is now touching almost 96 crore connections. Infrastructure has expanded to more than 31 lakh mobile-based transceiver stations. Data prices have gone down significantly, which shows massive investment in telecom. In 5G, 99.9% districts now have it, enabled by spectrum reforms, etc. 100 5G labs have been established, and 6G Vision and Bharat 6G Alliance guiding future leadership is already in progress. Rural connectivity with 4G is already under saturation, that is 100% has been covered across the last 19,000 villages. BharatNet has connected 2.14 lakh gram panchayats, but we need to go faster here. We are pretty slow on this. PLI scheme is becoming a massive factor in giving telecom equipments, and 1 lakh crore worth of sales have already been registered. R&D support is coming from Telecom Technology Development Fund, funded by 136 projects. Security measures are there, like Sanchar Sathi Digital, etc., fraud, financial fraud risk indicators. But again, on security measures, telecom in India needs to do a lot of hard work, because we see a lot of cyber theft happening in India. Overall, the spectrum reforms and the infrastructure provision has helped us in developing telecom big time. IT is another sector where we have seen that from 1280 megawatt installed capacity and 130 private and 49 government data centers are already established. So we are looking for some big Internet of Things, 5G, artificial intelligence, cloud computation. India's domestic Meghraj as the GI cloud provides secure, scalable cloud services, which means that now there will be data storage capacity within India, and that cloud will help in better utilization, and 26 cloud service providers have already impaneled under Meghraj. In social and emerging sectors, we see there is a paradigm shift. The emphasis is on last mile delivery. On tourism infrastructure, there is a recognition that driver of regional development is tourism, and space sector, government is allowing private sector along with development of capacity for private sector with training of the guides and support through infrastructure development of hospitality. In rural drinking water, we see Jal Jeevan Mission. The outlay is now 2,08,000 crore. It has been extended till 2008, and another 67,000 crore has been given to it. Water access has improved. More than 16 crore people now have access to water. It is 15.76, but now the number has gone above 16 crore. The dashboard of Jal Jeevan shows that more than 83% rural households are getting covered. And the and the target is to make it reach 100% by 2028. If you see this comparison between the time when Jal Jeevan started, when only 3 crore households were covered under it, to 15 crore, now there is no state in India which has a coverage of less than 50%. Every state has a coverage of at least 50%, while before Jal Jeevan we had a very poor situation. Water resource management, Namami Gange program has been there, and Namami Gange is focusing on not only continuous flow but also biodiversity restoration, sustainable governance through infrastructure and community participation, hybrid annuity model for sewage treatment plants, one city, one operator to make sure there is a proper operational efficiency and accountability can be fixed, use of vertical and green sewage treatment plants for space and energy efficiency, and then ecological outcomes, Gangetic dolphin population, etc., which have been increasing substantially now. Species have been restored. So Namami Gange kind of projects are good not only from infrastructure point of view, but also from conservation and ecological development point of view. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, this we have done in the class also, command area development, then sea flood platform, National Register of Specified Dams to be developed, and river city alliances. Overall, under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, the focus is not only on irrigation but also on sustainability and regularity of water supply. Tourism is another place where we are seeing a lot of growth, and government has had 53 projects sanctioned in Swadesh Darshan, focusing on sustainable and responsible tourism development, challenge based destination schemes where 38 projects with 697 crore allocation. ये याद रख लोगे, बजट के साथ कंबाइन करोगे कि प्रसाद स्कीम, Swadesh Darshan and challenge based destination scheme to promote tourism in India, along with promotion of tourism development through hospitality sector development, training of guides and tour guides, and certification and all, which will allow you to write an answer for 150 words in case initiatives for tourism are asked. In space capacity, current capacity is 56 active space assets, including communication, navigation, etc. Autonomous satellite docking through SpaceDex mission has been achieved. GSLV-F-15 has been launched. Axiom 04 mission enabled Indian astronaut experiments on ISS, and so on. So we see that Bhuvan platform for watershed monitoring under PM Krishi Sinchai Yojana is being used, and Yukt Dhara for decentralized planning. But for space, my suggestion will be go for your science and tech notes, because this is a very limited structure that they are giving us at the moment. Urban water information system and all. Private sector push ko yaad rakhoge. Indian Space Policy 2023 has allowed private sector to participate, and that has resulted in more than 300 startups and 70 plus technology transfer to make sure there is a liberalized space sector development in India. We are planning a Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2035 and manned lunar mission by 2040 to include Gaganyaan, follow-on, Chandrayaan 4 and 5. So on space also, the government has projected a lot of development prospects. Now, so the conclusion the survey says is infrastructure policy moving towards scale, integration and quality driven by sustained public capital expenditure, coordinated investments across transport, energy, digital and rural sectors, improving efficiency, logistics and service access. Institutional strengthening is being seen, PM Gati Shakti, National Logistics Policy, Unified Logistic Interface Portal, private investment being promoted. Economic gains are being now focused on reduced cost, promoting profit, returns for public-private partnerships, and includes digital infrastructure, clean energy, space, and so on for increasing scope of it. So overall, the focus should be on sustainable investment, decarbonization, digitalization, and resilience. You will have a lot of questions here on factual possibility in prelims, and for people from economics optional, GS, and economic services background, keep the data points with yourself, the new government initiatives with yourself. In your answer writing, they will make a huge difference. Thank you, all of you. I will be meeting you again for the next chapter pretty soon. Thank you. Bye bye from my side. God bless you all. All the best.